Farming Simulator, and you join me preparing for a test that I've wanted to do for quite a long time. We are going to pit the Vicon Fast Baler from Farming Simulator that Giants have added into the game a while ago. It was part of the DLC in FS19 against a normal baler wrapper, because I've always had a suspicion that because of the way that it slows itself down so that it never overtakes itself, that it's actually slower. So 2 strips of grass here. I'm actually going to run 3 tests. The grass has all been ploughed, limed, fertilized, rolled, everything done to it. Both patches have been treated exactly the same, so we should get exactly the same amount of grass off them. I'm going to mow 1 swath down the middle of each one with Chrome Big M, and then we're going to run a few balers against each other. So yeah, we have the Vicon Fast Baler, which does 125 centimeter bales, and I'm going to use the one of the Potinger baler wrappers from base game. This can do 125 and 150 centimeter wrapped bales. They are both on Deutz, I think 7250 TTVs. These have far more horsepower than is needed, and so then to run from left to right, so actually first off on the left we've got the Potinger, and you can see that's running at about 11 miles an hour. This one is doing 125 centimeter bales, so the same size as the fast bale. So we've then got the fast bale in the middle. That only does 125 centimeter bales. I'll show you the speed that that's running at in a moment. And then on the right hand side we have the same Potinger baler but doing 150 centimeter bales. And the difference that made was that I was able to keep moving and only have to stop as to when the bale was full, rather than with 125 centimeter bales with the Potinger I'm having to stop, wait for the bale to finish wrapping, then move, and so there's a lot more pausing. And then in the middle we have the Vicon, which you just kind of trundle along with. All 3 tractors I set up at the same start point, and then set the baler going, and then hit cruise control. They've all got pretty much the same horsepower requirement, the same overspec tractor, so all of that should be consistent. The one on the right is being run on the same track as the one on the very left. I had to do the test again because I didn't think to do 3 strips of grass. So yeah, it's all pretty well time aligned, and I think it's probably not really obvious at this point as to where we are in the race. I know as I was recording this, it felt like the 125 centimeter bales in the Potinger took forever, because I was having to stop because the bale chamber would be full before the bale had finished wrapping. So I had to stop, wait for the bale to finish wrapping, drop it back, wait for the bale to move on to the wrapper as it's doing now, and then I could start going again. And that process felt very slow. The Vicon was just generally running a bit slower. I'll show you the speed in a moment, as I said. And then on the right, this seemed to work quite well. You know, we could just it would just wrap the bale as I was baling. It would drop off the back whilst I was still baling, so it was wrapping fast enough that the chamber wasn't filling up. And then I just had to stop to transfer the bale onto the wrapper and carry on. That difference was actually huge in how long it took to get this job done. Yeah, so this is a test I've wanted to do for quite a long time. If we take a look now at the other 2 balers and how they are running, so you can see that the Vicon is only running at 4 to 5 miles an hour, just because of the size of the swath that it's having to ingest. So that it can keep going continuously, it has to slow down. That's how the fast bale works. One of those things. And then the Potinger again, you can see that's both of these Potingers are running at pretty much 11 miles an hour. So yeah, you can see the one on the right, actually we can see the end of the run coming up. And yeah, I've always had this feeling, and I haven't used the fast bale that option because of this, because the fact that, so the way the fast bale works is to be able to keep moving constantly without running past the capacity of either the preliminary chamber or the second chamber. It slows the tractor down automatically, so that pretty much as the chambers fill, the next one's ready, and so on and so on. And you can keep moving continuously, and it is much easier to use a fast bale. One of the things that I really struggle with, and actually I was concentrating very hard as I was doing the 2 runs with the potingers, is stopping at the right point so that the bale can move from the bale chamber onto the wrapper and then starting again. Round balers like this, you can't just kind of switch off and drive around the field. Unless you're on PC, and there is a script on PC which will stop the baler for you automatically. You might be saying, but there's a buzzer that you can hear. I generally play with sound off, so I don't hear that quite often when I'm playing. So yeah, it's an extra difficulty for me. I don't play with sound on normally because I am very noise sensitive. So yeah, there are only certain times and game sounds that I enjoy listening to. But you can see we are pretty much done with the baler on the right hand side. So it's not really a surprise that making bigger bales and having to stop less often, it's run quicker. But I think what is quite surprising is how much quicker it was. Now I will say again, I did run all of these set tests separately, and then I've time aligned all the video in the editing. I did want to try and do it with course play so that I could have the 2 at least running at the same time, but I couldn't get that to work. So editing magic. But we are done with the first one, and we've still got a way to go. Yeah, and if you extrapolate that over a bigger field, it's I think it's enough to make a difference. The counter is you don't have to think as much with the Vicon. You can just sit back and steer. There are also, so in one of my Let's Plays, I'm using a modded version of the Vicon which wraps much quicker and travels much quicker, and that kind of negates that. But obviously if you're on console, you don't have access to that, and you may not want to. So you can see this is going to be pretty close, I think, as to which one finishes first or not. So it's kind of that almost tortoise and the hare thing. The Vicon is just trundling along at 4 to 5 miles an hour. The potinger is baling at 11 miles an hour and then having to stop to finish wrapping and transfer the bale out of the bale chamber. And it would have been much more tense, I think, if you could see them actually next to each other rather than how I had to edit it. But I think this is definitely a test that I've wanted to do for a pretty long time. As we come up to the end, I'm going to say thank you to the patrons and the YouTube channel members. Appreciate you all supporting the channel. One of the perks of being a patron is that you can actually now start to join in multiplayer on one of my Let's Plays. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. And there'll be a bit more information on that in a video later this week. But yeah, we can see the end is in sight for both of them. And yeah, it's just a case of which one is going to get there first. And with 125 centimeter bales, they're obviously making exactly the same number of bales. The one on the right will have made less bales, because they're bigger. I was actually only going to test the pair that are still running, but if I was running the potinger baler, I'd generally be making the bigger bales, so I felt like that was a fair test to include as well. That's so close. It's so close. Which one is going to make it? He's just sitting there. The poting is just sitting there. It's like just watching that Vicon slowly trundle towards the finish line. And then we sprint again and we try and get ahead. And we're ever so slightly ahead, I think. And then we stop because the bale chamber's full and we've got to wait to drop the bale. And the Vicon just trundles on. I think the potinger just takes it, but not by much. Obviously, if you were making bigger bales, clearly we've been watching that one just sat there for a while. So yeah, that's a test that I've wanted to do for a long time. It was always a gut feeling that the Vicon FASTBALE was not actually faster. I think the big benefit of the FASTBALE, as I said, is you don't really have to pay attention. You can drive around, pick up all your grass and automatically get them wrapped. It's a lot like using a square baler, but without the extra step because the wrapper's on the back, versus the a more conventional round baler wrapper where you have to pay attention and stop and things. So they both have their benefits, but in terms of pure speed, definitely a traditional baler wrapper, if you can make 150 centimeter bales, is quicker. If you're just making 125 centimeter bales, it's the same. So hopefully you enjoyed this and found it useful. If you did, click the like button, comments, questions or suggestions below, and I will see you next time.